My father-in-law, a former Soviet refusenik, likes to tell a joke about the difference between a Russian optimist and a Russian pessimist. The Russian pessimist is the one who says things have never been so bad. War, economy, health, they couldn't possibly get worse. And the Russian optimist is the one who says, no, 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 they can always get worse. I'll be an American optimist. I am at a time when American politics can be, for lack of a better word, embarrassing. When we fail to see the forest through the trees and the fight becomes much more important than the outcome or the principle. It is refreshing to see such bipartisan work and bipartisan consensus and commitment when it comes to the development of the 3+1 and the partnerships in the Eastern Mediterranean. This isn't simply a political football like so much else has become, but really a change that has staying power. And one of the reasons for this is it's not simply economic. It's also, frankly, a front line in a civilizational battle for the liberal order. You know, a Turkish professor made a tweet and gets sentenced to 20 years in prison. He has a lot of time on his hands, so he goes into the prison library and he asks the librarian for a list of books, and the librarian looks over the list and says, I'm so sorry, we don't have any of these books. We only have the authors. The point is, what is going on in the Eastern Mediterranean is incredibly important. I've never served in the US military, but I spent about a year at sea over the last decade instructing our servicemen as they were on deployments on aircraft carriers and amphibious assault vessels. For the longest time, the Sixth Fleet was just something we would sail through on the way to the Fifth Fleet area of operations. Today, it is the center of gravity. Fortunately, our politics are catching up with it, but beyond that, I want to give a shout out to Usama in the East Med Gas Forum, because beyond simply the long overdue political reforms and diplomatic reforms in the way the Americans approach things, we have structural institutions which are building up behind the scenes to help coordinate not only Israel, Greece, and Cyprus, but also Egypt and the Palestinians in a way that often isn't appreciated, but it's that quiet, step-by-step building which actually gives such great hope for the future. I would say that as we consider the East Med, not simply a reform for the future in terms of our economy and our politics, it's also crucial to understand that we can't simply do the right thing, but we also have to stop doing the wrong thing. We have to recognize that almost 50 years on, a occupied northern Cyprus becomes not simply a diplomatic inconvenience. It becomes a no man's land, a vacuum through which not the forces of altruism fill, but through which money launderers, potential terrorists, and other forces that oppose the liberal order are seeking to sink root. It's not an irritant. It's a grave and growing threat that cannot simply be dispensed with in the name of sophisticated diplomacy. Henry Kissinger has died, and with it, some of the moral compromises he made should also be put to rest. We also need to recognize that as we face not just an issue of economic and diplomatic partnership, but also a front line of Western, if you will, support for the liberal order, we need to understand that we cannot platform those who most oppose it. The White House, whether it's led by a Democrat or by a Republican, should not give the Rose Garden platform to someone who so vocally supports Hamas and opposes the liberal order. We have incredibly strong partnerships now with the president of Cyprus, with the leadership of Greece. They are the ones who should have that endorsement. We should be in the process, not just in the United States, but throughout the West, of not allowing the squeaky wheel to get the grease, but of actually rewarding those who do the right thing rather than compromising with those who do the wrong. So I want to congratulate all of you for the hard work you are doing. This isn't an administration project. This isn't simply a political project. This is a project which spans careers, countries, and principles all coming together where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And so many of you in here are the ones that deserve credit for what we are seeing today. Thank you.